Hare Krishna. So we are doing student presentations as part of Bhakti Shastri. And our first devotee student is His Grace Vidagdha Madhav Prabhu. So he will be doing the presentation on chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. So I'll hand it over to Vidagdha Madhav Prabhu. He'll share the topic. It is to discuss the reasons for not fighting that Arjuna gives to Lord Krishna, or somewhere in that, that related topic. So Vidagdha Madhav Prabhu, please take over.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much the opportunity and taking time and taking a deep dive of each of the topics and the insights about every chapter, Prabhu. And as you just mentioned, today I'm gonna try discussing about the Arjuna's reasons not to fight. As you just mentioned, it is part of chapter 1. Before I would like to offer my obeisances. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrindi. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you Paramakarna Prabhu and Mataji for giving this opportunity. And today we're going to discuss about Arjuna's reasons to not fight. I remember when Prabhu was saying or talking about this chapter in general, chapter 1 is more of an introduction, but in general, it lays the platform for the remaining 17 chapters. The title of this chapter, what Srila Prabhupada gave, is Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, also known as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. I would like to request all devotees gathered here to close your eyes for a couple of seconds. Imagine you're on a battlefield, surrounded by friends, family, and loved ones, except they are on the opposite side. The sound of the conch shells fills the air, signaling the start of a war. Your heart is heavy, your mind is torn, and the moral weight of the situation overwhelms you. This is not our situation. This is the situation of Arjuna, who's at the battlefield. And this is the scene in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where it is not only a historical event, it kinds of mirrors our inner struggles. If we're going to discuss about the multiple attachments or the conflicts what Arjuna had in his mind, which always clashes between the duty with emotion, morality, and relationship. So tonight, I'm going to talk about something about these topics related to Arjuna's reasons to not to fight, but without knowing the background, like without setting the scene, might not go there, because in chapter 1, we have 46 verses, and the first 27 verses talks about setting the scene, who is actually introducing the conversation, and then how the preparation of the war is taking place, and then what Arjuna's role is, and who all are involved in this conversation, and then finally the reasons for not fighting will come into the second phase, which is from 28 to 46. At this moment, I would like to share my screen. Okay. Yeah, I'm bringing up my screen here. Hope everyone can see my notepad. Hare Krishna, can someone, yes, no?
Yes, but I don't know about others, but we're seeing like a small vertical.
Okay. I'm seeing the same.
Okay, how about
now, Prabhu? Now we see the full thing.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Before we dive into the chapter 1, I would like to start my conversation with the framework, let us see. Let us see. So I hope everyone have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, just commentary by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who describes the Bhagavad Gita as the perfect theistic science spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, not only for the benefit of Arjuna, but the benefit of whole humanity. Chapter 1 lays the groundwork for the teachings of the Gita, presenting Arjuna's situation and Krishna's role as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's going to guide and clear all the doubts whatever Arjuna had. And the first chapter also mirrors the challenges we all face in our personal lives when a conflict arises between duty and emotions or morality. So, as I just mentioned, first the conversation. Conversations sets, there are mainly 4 personalities are involved in speaking verses from Bhagavad Gita. There is inner conversation, which is between Arjuna and the Supreme Lord Krishna. And there is outer conversation, which is between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. Forgive my handwriting, it's not that great. Okay. Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue, and it's a great conversation on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We're gonna in a little while we're gonna talk about the first verse. It talks about where it is and how the conversation takes place, what all conflicts it had. So before this, Sanjaya, okay, before getting into that, this sets the stage. Like now we discussed about the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, and as well as the outer conversation between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. But who are all, along with these 4, like who are all the players on the field? Like there is obviously, when the war is going on, there is team A, team B, or one side, the other side. Here, the one side is Kurus and the other side is the Pandavas. The main characters on this field is these four personalities: Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra, Arjuna, and Krishna. So Dhritarashtra is the conversation of the 700 verses starts with Dhritarashtra opening the conversation to his servant, or the overall narrator of this conversation is Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra here, he's the blind king who is physically blind, but we can say that he's spiritually blind, representing because of his attachment and ignorance. He's one side. We're going to discuss about that. And then Sanjaya, who's the narrator of the whole conversation which is happening at the battlefield. He has some gifted spiritual vision with the blessings of his spiritual master Vyasa. With that spiritual vision, he's able to describe the events of the battlefield to his master Dhritarashtra. And then the third personality is Arjuna, who's the hero of the story. And a little while we're going to discuss about the conflicts or the confusions in his mind. He's a warrior he's going to face some emotional crisis, like which we all can relate to his confusions. And then Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, plays the role of a charioteer. Means he's the Bhakta Vatsala, which though he's a charioteer, he's going to become the spiritual master of Arjuna. Till now, at some point of time, he'll be a friend and he'll transform his role to a spiritual master. And he is obviously the source of all the wisdom and going to give the clarity to Arjuna's confusions. And then there are some indirect characters where Sanjay is going to mention about players, personalities are on the battlefield. The main thing is the opponent, who is Duryodhana, the ambitious Kaurava prince, representing. If we need to represent someone as a brand ambassador for greed and arrogance and ignorance, like Duryodhana is the brand ambassador. And then there are some other characters like who are the great stalwarts available on the battlefield, like Bhishma on the opposite side and Bhima on the other side, and Dronacharya, the great teacher of both the sides. He is on the opposition side, and there are different warriors of different levels. There are Pandavas, Kurus, and then now, how does the confusion or the conversation starts? The first verse of the Bhagavad Gita starts like Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, and Dhritarashtra is going to mention about Mamaka Pandavasyeva. The comparison starts. Okay, he refers to his sons as Mamaka, which is mine, and the sons of Pandu as Pandavas. So technically, I mean, they are his sons because his brother's sons. But he clearly shows that comparison between his sons and Pandavas, reflecting his attachment and bias towards his sons, where he leans towards the unrighteous sons. On the other side, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, cites the virtuous Pandavas, and this contrast of attachments to one's own, and this serves as a powerful theme throughout the Gita. Who is on the opposition side and who is on the Pandava side? Here, if we talk about before we go into the reasons for Arjuna not to fight, there are some brief description about respective sections in the chapter 1. As I said, like first verse, Dhritarashtra is going to inquire to Sanjaya what is happening on the battlefield, and then Sanjaya starts his narration of what is happening on the battlefield. And the first 3 sections will be about preparation for the war. I mean, who are all available and who is talking to whom. And then second section is about signs of victory. And the third section, how Krishna acted like based on Arjuna's instructions. And then fourth will be the reasons we're going to discuss. And in the first section, Sanjay starts his conversation to Dhritarashtra. He talks about that Duryodhana's actions were described here. Duryodhana is on the opposition side. He's going to the commander. And he points out Drona's mistake, where another D can be described here, where Duryodhana goes to Drona and he talks about Drushtadhyumna, who is the son of Drupada, because he wants to give some motivation to fight, because Drupada and Dronacharya are enemies, but Drushtayumna get all the archery skills from Drona. That is a detailed story. If you read Srila Prabhupada's purport, you'll get to know why that conversation happened and details about that. And also Duryodhana uses some diplomacy. He tries to talk with Bhima, I mean, about that he's a great warrior, that you should be able to control the whole army and need to fight and all. And then he gives instructions to the warriors on the lower range. So make sure that Bhima is getting old when he's concentrating on attacking the other side warriors. Make sure that you protect him and make sure that we are going to win. And then the next section is about signs of victory of Pandavas, because when the conversation happened, when Krishna goes before the war to both Duryodhana and Arjuna, Duryodhana chooses the army of Krishna, whereas Arjuna chooses Krishna on his side. That itself, like Krishna's personal presence, confirms the victory of Pandavas. And not only that, there is other signs of victory for Pandavas, along with Krishna. When the god is there, goddess of fortune will be always with Krishna. So we have goddess of fortune is also there, because goddess of fortune, she never lives without her husband. Therefore, all fortune is guaranteed, and that is one verse which we can see between 12 and 20. And then the venue, as we just started with verse number 1, it's called Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, the holy place. And on top of it, the chariot is having Hanuman's flag. Also, the same Hanumanji helped Lord Rama in gaining victory in Ramayana. And there are different types of conch shells. This conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu, and later on, Bhima, to encourage his nephew Duryodhana, he blows the conch shells. But Bhishma knew that the victory is guaranteed to Pandavas. But in order to encourage Duryodhana, he blows the conch shells. And there are other transcendental conch shells, like Krishna's conch shell is Panchajanya, Arjuna's conch shell is Devadatta, Yudhishthira's conch shell is Ananta Vijaya, and then Bhima is having Poundara, and then there's Nakula Sahadeva having Sugosha and Manipushpaka. So all these conch shells were blowed, and that sound shatters Kaurava's hearts. And whereas for the sound, Pandavas' hearts were not shattered because they have Krishna, the ultimate supreme personality of Godhead. Because of that, they're pretty confident that they're going to win. At that moment, Arjuna asks Krishna. We're slowly going towards the main theme of this of the topic. So at this moment, Arjuna asks Krishna, Senayor Ubayor Madhye, can you please take the chariot in front of the warriors, the other side, opposition? Arjuna requests the infallible Lord, Achyuta. He calls, Arjuna refers to Krishna with multiple names. He calls with the name Achyuta, he call with Keshi, and Keshava, and various other names. He calls him with Janardana. Throughout the first chapter, we'll see multiple names of the Lord being called by Arjuna. He requests Krishna to take the chariot in front, in the middle, so that he can envision the whole overall the army who is on the other side. And then he sees his grandfathers, contemporaries of his fathers, his teachers like the great Dronacharya, Kripacharya, his maternal uncles, his brothers like Duryodhana, his sons, and his friends, Ashwadhama, son of Dronacharya, and the overall army, which contains his friends. So at this moment, the confusion starts, the inner struggle starts in the mind of Arjuna. So at this moment, by seeing their family members, his limbs started quivering, his mouth started drying up, his whole body is trembling, his hair standing on the end, his Gandiva bow is slipping, and his skin is burning. He's unable to stand any longer due to impatience. And at that moment, he starts talking about his inner conflicts. And at this moment, he talks about several conflicts which is happening in this mind. Tonight, we're going to discuss about these conflicts in an acronym called ABCDEF. So AB stands for Arjuna's bewilderment. Arjuna is emotionally overwhelmed and physically affected by the thought of fighting his loved ones. So he knows that he's going to fight the war because of the injustice, whatever it happened to him and his brothers. But as soon as he's on the war field, by seeing his loved ones, his inner struggle started. He questions the value and the consequences, like what am I going to get even if I win this war? And I pretty much remember Paramakarna Prabhu's example where about being right and feeling right. Especially Prabhu mentioned about the tax fraud example. At times, we might feel that government is doing some higher taxes and all, but and some might do that tax frauds. Okay, I do some mischief so that I can give some tax. Here, he's confused between duty versus emotion. So what is his duty? His Kula Dharma. And emotion, by seeing his loved ones, he felt compassion. In verse number 31, Nacha Shreyo Anupashyami Hatva Swajanam. His family members are at the battlefield. He says that I do not see any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle. So how does Arjuna exhibits his blind conception of life? He refuses to fight because of multiple reasons. He's a Kshatriya and his duty is to fight. and his compassion leads to reject the material rewards of the victory. Like, so when by seeing the loved ones, he doesn't want to fight, and he is ready to face the suffering, but he's not ready to cause them any suffering. And then, as we just discussed about compassion in verse number 131, and then it's not the same sequence I'm going, but I'm going to mention about the verse numbers. And then now the second one is about the destruction of family traditions. It's going to be mentioned about in Bhagavad Gita verse number chapter 1 verse number 39. And here there are multiple reasons he mentions about the destruction of the family dynasty. Because if the opposition, if he kills everyone and no one is left, the family tradition is vanquished, and rest of the family members are will be involved in irreligion. So he quotes multiple example, and there are multiple occurrences he quotes. Like, one is death of elderly. Fighting destroys the whole dynasty, and once the family traditions are stopped, irreligion occurs, because uh, women get polluted, and when irreligion is prominent, women in the family, he's having that fear that women might get polluted, and how they I mean, women need some protection, and if they are not protected, adultery can occur, and that can cause to varna shankara, which means that unwanted progeny, and it might cause the degradation of women from unwanted progeny, and there is a chance of risk of war and hellish life for the remaining family members, and the whole family and even the ancestors might fall down, because there will not be any kind of pindadana will be performed, because all the male members of the family were if they die in the war, and if that is destroyed, the whole community projects, no one will be able to take care of the brahmanas, the cows, and in fact, like, the whole welfare activity stops, and by doing that, the whole culture is destroyed. And at this moment, Arjuna fears the collapse of dharma, and because of that, uh, the society might drop, or it degrades the values, and it leads to the towards irreligion. And the third reason he mentions is enjoyment. Okay, he has won the war. What is that he's gonna gain out of it? He's gonna cause some sinful acts, and he's gonna get the kingdom. But what kind of royal happiness is it gonna bring to him? Basically, a typical calculation of material life. He feels that even after winning the kingdom, and without having any kind of the other side, because he wants to show off his opulence, and there is no one to show his kingdom, and even the whole society will be lost even after he wins the kingdom. And instead, he wants Krishna to kill them, and he doubts the material enjoyment, whatever he's going to get out of winning the battle. He's ready to sacrifice that. And the fourth one is about fear of sinful reactions. He says that sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. And Srila Prabhupada gives a detailed explanation about different six aggressors. The first one is because the injustice done to Pandavas are many, not one. One is the poison giver. They've given poison. They've set their house on the fire. Who attacks with deadly weapons, who plunders riches, who occupies another's land, who kidnaps other's wife. So they did all kind of mischief. But even then, Arjuna is ready to forgive them on the grounds of religion and saintly behavior. Because of this unique position of these aggressors, the seniors and relatives, and his saintliness is causing him to forgive. Arjuna's at this moment considers Why to risk life and eternal salvation for temporary pleasures and kingdoms? In fact, he at one moment he says that better I'll be unarmed and they can kill me. And he justifies by scripture to fight aggressors, and he is fears the sinful consequences due to his family attachments. So if we see all these reasons, no doubt that Arjuna is a great warrior. He's not afraid, or he's not fear of death at this moment. He's more fearful of the irreligion, the consequences of what is going to happen if the war is going to happen. He's compassionate towards his friends and family members, destruction of the family traditions. Even if he gains the kingdom, he'll not be able to enjoy anything, and ultimately by killing someone he'll incur some sin. At this moment, he literally kind of cries for help. So though it's not mentioned that he cries, it's not spoken, but in the verse it mentioned about shoka. So at the battlefield, uh, his body trembling, he literally leaves his bow and arrows to the side and to the side, and he sits down on the chariot with grief, and he is emotionally surrendered. Now he approaches Krishna, the spiritual master, supreme spiritual master, and cries for help, asking and seeking his divine guidance. That's when the charioteer Krishna comes into place. He's going to talk about the solutions or the clarity. He's going to provide the entire clarity to Arjuna's doubts or confusions or concerns. Here, if we see, Krishna is not just a driver. He symbolizes guidance and wisdom. And if we see verse number 21, when Arjuna asks Krishna, Arjuna asks Krishna to place the chariot. He literally puts the chariot in middle of the battlefield. That means that it clearly shows the relationship between the Lord and devotee is sweet and transcendental, because a devotee is always eager to serve the Lord, and Lord obtains the transcendental pleasure in receiving the orders of his pure devotee. And the Lord is infallible and supreme master. And if we need to conclude this, we started with Arjuna faces a moral and emotional crisis on the holy place, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and his task, his duty as a warrior is to fight, but he gives out of the compassion, because he expresses his doubts to Krishna and then seeks guidance, puts his weapons aside. If we see the overall chapter 1, which sets the stage for Krishna's teaching, Lord Krishna's teaching on dharma, detachment, and devotion in subsequent chapters, because the remaining chapters talks about karma, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. And chapter 1 lays the foundation for the overall Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a great scripture which is the source of all the wisdom. It reminds us that all the material problems have spiritual solutions. And here, Arjuna's confusion stems from his attachment, which Krishna will address through his spiritual teachings in the subsequent chapters. And if we see the overall, all these reasons for not fighting: compassion, destruction for family traditions, enjoyment, and fear of sinful reactions, and finally seeks Krishna's help. We see all this kind of attachments. If we see the attachment is due to the suffering. So basically, any kind of suffering is due to attachment. Attachment is due to illusion, ignorance. Or here, in Arjuna's case, it is identity, my family, what I'm going to get. So here, we can definitely relate with these three: suffering, attachment, and illusion. In fact, like every one of us, I remember Paramakarna Prabhu's lecture. every one of us in this material world have some kind of attachments. It can be towards my family, my job, my luxuries, anything. But everything in this material will call at some point of time will cause some suffering, because the suffering is due to attachment, and attachment is due to illusion, ignorance, and identity. And here in this case, the illusion which is on Arjuna is due to he's a great devotee, definitely. But I mean, Krishna wants to give us a message through Bhagavad Gita, and because of that, the knowledge of Arjuna is clouded with illusion. For the key takeaways from this is, again, I would like to take the same acronym. If we can study Bhagavad Gita and absorb the contents of the Bhagavad Gita and implement in our personal life, we can definitely rise above the confusion and attachment. Similarly, as we just discussed about Arjuna's inner conflicts reflects the battle we all face, but by turning into Krishna, the supreme master, as Arjuna did, we can find clarity, courage, and purpose in our lives. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer, but I will seek Paramakarna Prabhu's guidance.
You're very capable to answer questions yourself. But such a wonderful presentation. I really liked it. Do any devotees have questions for Vidagdha Prabhu? And I encourage you to ask questions. And you can ask tough questions also if you want. This one of the purpose of Bhakti Shastri is to get prepared to be able to answer questions asked by people. And out there, people are not going to be kind. So they will ask tough questions. So we must equip ourselves, train ourselves to be able to answer questions. We will also face such doubts in our life when misery or suffering strikes. And in our preaching efforts, also others will ask questions. And if we cannot answer them convincingly, then we are, not doing a good, we are doing still good service, but we could improve if we convincingly answer questions of others. So, yes. So I want to ask a question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So that was very nice, by the way, that ABCDEF acronym, and very nicely, like it fits very nicely. Arjuna's bewilderment, compassion, ABC, then D is destruction of family, E is and F was fear of sinful reactions. E was
Enjoyment.
enjoyment. Yes. So that was very nice. And then towards the end, you said something very important. Illusion leads to attachment, and attachment leads to
I extracted from your lecture, Prabhu. Suffering, attachment, and
suffering.
Yeah.
So what was in this case in chapter 1, what would you say is Arjuna's illusion?
Between Kshatriya Dharma and Kula Dharma. And his duty is to fight, but he's not performing his duty. He's attached to all these 4 reasons we just discussed.
Okay.
But this is not the first time, like Tori, I forgot to mention, he's not afraid of the battle, because in the past he fought in the Virata Parva, or the other battles, but he's not afraid, or he's not having the fear of death or anything, because by seeing that family members, he lost his, or he's under temporary illusion.
Okay. Anybody else has anything? Any questions or comments? Okay. Any comments or any words of appreciation, anything you liked? Yes,
Hare
please
Krishna,
go ahead.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the presentation. I like very much the A, B, C, D, E, F. That way we will not forget like what are the points when Arjun was feeling confused. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to say something? Okay. Yes, Jason Prabhu, are you trying to unmute?
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you for the presentation. It was very detailed, and I appreciated the whole background, especially like if this was to a general public, it'd be very important to understand what the context is, because it's important to know who Arjuna is and the whole layout of the circumstances. And yes, we can say we can compare ourselves to this individual who's going into it, but he's this exalted person who's going through these things too. It puts us not to say I'm Arjun or in any way whatsoever, but we all go through these things. Yeah. Thank you again.
Beautiful. Thank you. I really liked the initial exercise that close your eyes and imagine. That was a little startling. I didn't expect that. So, but then after I opened my eyes, the realization that came to me, or the feeling that came to me, is so when I closed my eyes and loved ones, I saw my family members, I saw my kids, my wife, my friends. But then I realized, hey, they haven't been as mean to me as um, Duryodhana and others have been. So, uh, it was not as we say, apple to apple comparison. That was one, but immediate thought was, oh my God, I just somehow let the earth open and I should just get swallowed. I cannot like lift my arms against my loved ones. But then after 10 seconds, I got the thought, but wait a minute, Arjun was like in a little bit different. But then I got the thought about Bhishma. He was like a very, very close one towards Arjuna. Just like for me, it would be my very close family members. And then it was a very nice exercise where I could realize, oh my God, like how close what Arjuna possibly might have been going through. Thank you very much. Yes, Rama Mataji or Hasani.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Vidagdha Madhava Prabhuji, it was so good. I really enjoyed it actually. I really liked the whole flow, like how you started off with the visualization exercises. It put me on the spot for like how much of difficulty Arjuna should be. I mean, even though this is for us, I could really see and visualize how hard it is to fight against Bhishma, and such great personalities there, which he was really close to. And then also the ABCDEF, and also the inner struggle and the outer struggle, that Venn diagram picture was really very captivating, and I think we will remember that for forever, I guess. Hopefully, our memories help us, and Lord has mercy on us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want some corrections or anything from you or anyone for which I can probably improvise.
No, I think you were right on time also. Like 30 minutes was allocated and you did finish in 30 minutes. So that was, and you did set up the scene. So looking at it from the perspective, it's not just like you were given a topic or the reasons for fighting, and you just start with the reasons. I think you set the context. So if you look at it from the standpoint of if you were giving this talk to, some newcomers or something like that, then it's like really, it would make sense. It would not make sense to just start in the middle and tell them, here are the reasons. So that was nice. Yeah, I really don't feel like there were anything else critical or in that sense. And the hand drawing is also, I like it. I mean, some people may say that slides are better, but personally like that as well. Slides are also very good. So I personally don't have that's certainly not a point of critique at all. So yeah, I can't think of anything
Sure.
upfront.
Did I miss any points in the four reasons? Obviously, the four reasons combinedly talks about the indecision, which we're going to discuss about in chapter 2, verse number
Yes.
6, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, this whole point of now all this is getting recorded and will show up on YouTube, but I guess that's fine. But I think that that whole point of womanhood getting polluted and all needs to be little bit carefully and very delicately, sensitively delivered
Okay.
to audience who may not have. I mean, when you spend many years in devotional life, you do realize that ultimately devotees are above this, man woman difference. But these kind of topics I've seen in many cases put off people. So very delicately that has to be handled. And yeah, not delicately handling could result in either heated debates and worst case, people kind of getting turned away.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much, Vidagdha Madhava Prabhu, for such a wonderful presentation. So next week we will do 2 or 3, whoever has signed up, we will do those. So yeah, looking forward to that. All right. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.